Now that you have finally built your bass line and your drum line, all we have left is to add a melody to our song. Now, for the melody, we are going to choose 3 different instruments from 3 categories. The categories in music are brass, wind, strings, keyboard, and vocals. We need a minimum of 3 to have a nice sounding song. So, since we are not going to explain vocals in this tutorial, let's go ahead and open up our VSTIs. Now, for beginners, I recommend to use Citrus, Harmless, or Harmor. And it is better to use presets when you start out, and you can figure out most of the panels later on. Presets are really good for starters. So, let's go ahead and find a piano for our song. For the piano, we could go for something very simple, like maybe the Chorus EP1, which sounds something like this. Or we can use FL Studio's built-in piano only VSTI, which is called FL Keys. On this one, it is recommended to use the grand piano. Now, for making your melody, there is no simple rule, there is no simple formula. So it really depends on what you like to hear. In house, the melody, there's only one important thing to remember. It has to harmonize with the rest of your song, which means it has to follow the scale your bass line is on. Now, as for the rhythm, we have quarter notes and triplets that are very common. We also have 2 eighth notes side by side that are also very common. So remember, one space like this is the equivalent to 1 quarter note. And then we have 2 eighth notes like this and triplets, which look like this. Now, for starters, I recommend using your bass line to build your melody. So let's go ahead and look at our bass line. Let's go to the pattern that includes the bass. Let's look at the notes. Let's select the bass. Now, as for the bass line, we use the notes G, D, B, and C. So let's go ahead and start off our melodies with G, D, B, and C. So let's go to our melody pattern, go back to our keyboard, and click. By the way, the piano and the melody normally occupies the middle octave, which is the 5th octave on a piano. So, let's go ahead and build our melody. If you wish to zoom in and out of the piano roll, all you have to do is Control and use your mouse wheel. So, let's go ahead and start it off with a triplet. And then maybe we can add we have to follow our scale. So basically, our scale is A, B, C, D, E, F, F sharp, and G. One simple technique that musicians use is to work with the 5th and the 3rd of a scale. So in this case, the 5th would be, and if we count it up, it would be D. So we can go ahead and click and go to the D. And then right after that, we can hit the A or the B. The B would be the 3rd in this case. So, you have to look at the 1st, the 3rd, the 4th, and 5th of your scale. Those are the root notes that we call. Those are the major notes in a major scale. And those are very useful for building melodies. And now that we have made our first 4 beats, we have to build our next one. So, our next beat will start with the 2nd chord of the bass line, which in our case is going to be the D note. So, let's go ahead and choose our piano again. Let's start it off with the D. Now, as you can see, I'm starting it off with triplets and then using quarter notes with silences in the middle. This time we could maybe do multiple eighth notes to give it a bit of a groove. So let's stick once again to our fifth and our third. And in this case, the fifth from the D note would be A. So let's go ahead. And then the third would be F sharp. So let's go ahead and listen to the first two bars of our melody. Sounds good? Now let's keep moving. Now, feel free to change anything because once you make the melody, this is actually the part that should take the longest, as this is what your viewers will remember. Now, let's go ahead and make our full melody. The melody normally lasts 4 measures. Now, let's add our third chord. Our third note from the bass line would be a B, which is here. So let's give it the triplet again. And then this time we could maybe work with the fourth and the sixth. These are the minor notes. This will add some change to our song. You do not always have to follow music theory in composing house music or EDM, but it is recommended to do so. But feel free to do anything that you wish to, as music is about creativity. As you can see, I'm repeating the same rhythm from the first measure on the third, and we're going to do the same thing from the second to the fourth to create consistency in our melody. So now that we have added the fourth and the sixth, we can go ahead and add and make our next measure. So let's start it off with the C, as this is the note that our bass line starts with. Then this time we could maybe try a 5 and a 4. And in the case for C, a 5 would be an A. So we count up the scale starting from C to find the fifth. We count it up to 5, which here it's A. And then we can work with the third one, which in this scenario would be F sharp. And remember, most viewers from Collège Saint-Louis know that they are used to hearing the solfeggio system, which is do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si, do. But the A, B, C, D, E, F, G system is the same thing, in which C is the equivalent to a do, re is D, and so on. So it is basically the same thing. So let's go ahead the melody and hear the melody that we have created. Now notice, we find that our fourth measure sounds a little odd and sounds very similar to the second measure. So we can go ahead and change a few elements to make it sound better. Remember, the melody is the part you're supposed to spend the most time on, as this is what your audience will remember. So maybe, instead of putting an A and an F sharp, we can work with other chords, like let's play with a C, a B, and maybe add another one. Let's hear how it sounds. And if you do not like it, you can always modify it. It's all about experimentation. And once you are fully satisfied with your melody, you can start adding it to other instruments. Okay, now that you are fully satisfied with your melody, and you've heard it multiple times and are sure that you're not going to change it, you can copy and paste it into other instruments to make the sound better and to give your song some dynamics. Make it sound energized. Now let's add a brass in a new pattern. So for the brass we can use, let's say, harmless. You can find a preset for a brass in pretty much any of the VSTIs. Now, if you're not able, we have a brass right here. As I was saying, if you're not able to find the preset you're looking for, you can always search in other VSTIs. There are plenty to choose from. Now, to copy and paste the melody, we're going to go back to our pattern containing the piano melody. We're going to control click on the melody, then press Control C, go back to our pattern, choose the instrument, and press Control V. Now, this will help balance out the lower notes from the piano to the higher pitch of the brass. And we can also add an orchestra, but the orchestra will normally play the chords. And the orchestra is normally what composes the string instrument of our song. So let's go ahead and open up Citrus or any other VSTI that contains a violin or maybe a cello, anything that is played with strings. So we can go ahead and use the violin ensemble. But this time we're going to use chords. Now the chords will be based off our bass line, the notes in it. So the notes in our bass line are once again G, D, B, and C. Now, the notes that will be played by our strings, the chords, they are going to be whole notes. So, to build a chord, all you have to do is place the first note, the root note, then find the third and the fifth. The third in this case would be the B note, and the fifth would be the D note. Now do this for all of the other notes that come from our bass line. And then we have E. See, making chords is quite simple if you know the basic theory that goes with it. That's the third, and then we have to add the fifth. Now do this for all of your notes. Now let's see how it sounds. Now you see, we can add all of these instruments one by one to create a slow rising effect in our chorus. So, let's go ahead and add all of this to our playlist. So pattern 6 is going to be our piano. Pattern 7 is going to be our brass. Pattern 8 is going to be our strings. Now, let's add each of the instruments to its respective channel. So, let's say track 3 is reserved for the piano. Track 4, anything that goes with strings. Track 5 will be reserved for patterns that are related to the brass. Now, let's add all of this to our song. We will be fading in the piano in the introduction. I will show you how to do this in the next section. The piano melody will repeat for the entirety of the intro and the chorus, but for the build-up, only the first 4 beats will play for 16 measures, and after that, only the first 2 beats will play. So we're going to split it in half, and that is all that will play for the rest of it. Now this will complement our drum build-up. Over here, the piano melody will be fading out. Now, for our brass, we're going to add the brass right after the first measure with the drums. We're going to keep going with it, but we're not going to be having it in the build-up. And for the strings, same thing. We're going to be adding it 3 measures into the we're going to adding it 3 spaces into the chorus. As you can see, we're adding something new every few moments, and this is what keeps your audience interested in your song. So now let's go ahead and hear our intro and chorus. Listen to the song, you can see that the sound doesn't really fit in with the rest of the track. So we can change the preset for this one. We can find something else. And we're not really obligated to use a brass. We can use an instrument from another class, like a bell. Like, for example, maybe this one. Nope. You see, we really have to experiment with all of... Let's see if this bell sounds right. Nope, it does not fit into our song. So let's go ahead and replace it with maybe another synthesizer that might have a better sounding brass. Once again, my favorite is citrus. So we can go ahead and get a brass from here, like or maybe even a trumpet. Now there are many presets available. You really have to choose whichever sounds good to you. So now we have our trumpet. Let's hear it. Yes, that sounds much better. Now let's hear our build-up, how it goes. The build-up is only missing one part, which is the sweep-up part. The sweep-up effects will be taught in the next tutorial. All that we're missing in our song is the drop, the melody for the drop, and we have to add our melody to our chorus after this. So the melody for the chorus is quite simple. We are going to be copy and pasting whatever we have done in the first chorus. Now, once again, to copy paste, it's Control click, and then it's Control B this time. Then we can drag out this part and add it right into the second chorus. And as for the intro, it'll just be the piano melody that repeats with the drums. For the outro. Now, to make our drop, what we are going to need is a lead melody. Now, for the lead melody, what we're going to be needing is a lead preset from a VSTI. So let's go ahead and try Harmless. This one has many leads. So go ahead and listen to a few of them and see and find the one that you like most. For example, we can use Flexor. There are many to choose from. Now, leads are, most people think that they are complicated. They don't use many notes, in fact. And the lead, the only rule is that it respects the scale that you have chosen for the other parts. So it has to stay on the G major scale, since that is the one we use to build the chorus and the bass line. So let's go ahead and maybe try the F sharp note. And the rhythm really depends on whatever you like to hear, so it's all about experimentation in this. And now, normally the lead is divided in two parts. The first part goes down at the end, and the second part goes up, or it could be the opposite. The melody is very simple, so it is only for two measures, unlike the melody, which is 4. So let's go ahead and copy paste the first part of it, and then let's make it rhyme. See, it's all about experimentation in music and composing EDM. You really have to see what sounds right to you. Now, for the lead, we can copy and paste this melody into another sounding lead, to make it sound different and to make it not sound dull and boring. So once again, Control click, then Control C, make a new pattern, and then we are going to add another lead. Now, for this lead, let's go ahead and use Harmore. You can use any of the ones that you like. The VSTIs are all up to you. So let's hear how this one sounds. See, this one is very resonant. It's high pitched. We can go ahead and try it. Copy paste our melody into the hard lead. And now we can add both of our melodies for the lead into our drop section. Now, let's see how this sounds. So for the first 8 measures, we're going to go with the first pattern, which is going to be pattern 13. And then we're going to add in our next one. We're going to layer it on top of the first one to make it sound more dynamic. Another common technique that is used in the drop, now this goes in the drum part, but it's okay. What we do is, for the hi-hat, we play it on every 2 steps. to add some emphasis to the drop. We can start it off right here to add some variety to our song. And that is how you build a song in the genre of EDM. Now, mastering the song will obviously make it sound much better, so please go ahead and check out the next section.